This morning on BRN, prepping your garden for the fall. Joining me now is Brooks Osman, better known as the Garden Guru. Brooks, so great to see you. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Jeffrey, for having me today.
Yeah, and we affectionately refer to Brooks as the Garden Guru because I think of him that way. He's got the green thumbs, multiple green thumbs. All right, Brooks, I don't know if you've noticed, but the weather has started to change. And though we're not there yet, I think we're headed into the fall season. I wanted to catch up with you about what we can do to prepare our gardens for the fall and winter months.
Absolutely. Well, everyone's in different time zones and going through their different prepping scenarios. But what you want to consider doing if you haven't had your first frost yet, there's some plants like phlox and peonies. They get the powdery mildew on them. And it's time to cut those perennials down to the ground. Open up some breathing room in your garden. It opens up some of the dirt and soil, and that can also help you prepare for mulching, because mulching is a good thing to do in the fall to give a blanket protection for your plants, especially new plants that you have planted that season earlier in the season.
And when it comes to, a lot of people watching the program maybe they have a garden, but you're very familiar with like tilling and aerating. Do you have to aerate the garden, so create holes so that more moisture, more air can come in to help when you reseed?
Sure. Well, I think in the springtime is more for aerating purposes. But in the fall, just cutting down those perennials opens up your garden and, pulling weeds and getting ready to put some mulch down. A lot of people only mulch or think about mulching in the spring and early summer, where I have several clients that only mulch in like late November, early December. So everybody has their different ways of doing things in the garden.
And let's talk about mulch. We've talked to you about mulch. I think we talked during the spring, actually, the spring months when people were probably replanting their gardens. Let's talk about the type of mulch. What works best in your estimation? Again, it probably is based on your location, so what your climate's like, north, south, east, or west.
Yes, at least in the Mid-Atlantic, folks tend to really appreciate the shredded hardwood natural brown mulch. Some people call it tan bark mulch, but I go by shredded hardwood mulch. It's the best mulch to use, at least in our area. Um, and and again, like before you mulch, you can go ahead and plant new bushes and perennials in the fall, because the ground actually is the warmest right now this time of year than any other time of the year. Think about the ocean and how large it is, and it's not the ocean is not warm until like September. So it's the same in the ground. So it's really a quality time for planting, because the plants will have a couple months worth of root growth before the winter sets in, and plus you'll have that blanket of mulch on top of it. It's a perfect time for planting.
And is now the right time, Brooks, to get deals? I'm going to call them deals. I don't know how it works in the plant business, but can you get good deals on seedlings, seeds, saplings, all the things that you need to put in your garden?
You sure can. So a lot of times, local nurseries want to get rid of their stock from that year because they're changing over to pumpkin displays, and soon after that, it'll be Christmas displays. So you can find shrubs and bushes at 33% off, half off. Usually in late October, November is when you'll start seeing those big sales, because they really want to get that stuff out of there.
Yeah, because Halloween's right around the corner. We should probably do a special show with you about how to find the right pumpkin for Halloween. Table that, because I want to come back to you probably in October to do that. Let's talk about insects. Again, we've talked to you before about insects, indoor insects, or insects that find their way indoor on the plants. They piggyback on the plants, but also insects that find their way. Sometimes they love your garden. Is there anything special you need to think about regarding insects as you kind of nurture your garden for the fall?
Yes, I'm anti-chemicals typically. I would rather just observe. Like, talk about house plants. If you want to bring your house plants back in for the season, oh, and by the way, usually 44 degrees is a target number if you're going to worry about tropical plants, and then 39 degrees for less sensitive plants. You want to make sure you're bringing them in then. But you also want to make sure you don't have ant nests growing underneath your pots. You don't want to bring those critters in. One year I brought in a big plant, and there was a whole bunch of crickets inside of it, and it took a couple weeks to get rid of all the crickets, but the cats took care of that mostly.
And just talk about the animals as well. There are some plants that maybe don't do as well with cats. I'm a cat lover too. I have 2 cats. You have cats. There are some plants that you may want to bring inside, but they may not be as cat friendly or animal friendly, guinea pig friendly, dog friendly as some others.
Yes, I typically lilies are the worst. For people get lilies on flower arrangements, and then their pollen and everything that drops from a lily is very, very toxic for cats. So I avoid lilies in my house. All the other plants that maybe have more toxic to cats, I just have out of the way. And I have like a barrier. I have a whole bunch of plants on tables, and there's no room for the cat to even possibly jump up and start nibbling on stuff. So I just keep those plants out of reach of my kitty cats.
Yeah, no sense in saving the plant and then killing the cat. I mean, that does not go over too well certainly with the cats, and probably with PETA as well. Just real quick, Brooks, before we kind of close out the segment, any other things that we need to be thinking about as we kind of get set for the fall season and towards the end of the year when things start to cool down?
Yes, well, it's pretty popular right now for people to be concerned about environmental protections on insects and things like that. So I would like to suggest to people, if you're concerned about our pollinators that are out there, I certainly am concerned. We don't want to lose them. So what you want to do is not necessarily rake all your leaves up. What happens is you have chrysalis and cocoons and other pollinating critters that are nesting for the winter season, and those leaves create a blanket for them and protection. So you want to consider raking your leaves up maybe in April instead of doing it now or closer to winter. Give those pollinators a chance to reproduce and provide us what we need from them.
Yeah, it's all part of an ecosystem. That's the key word, right? We're all part of a ecosystem. We need the birds, bees, we need everything to pollinate so that we have more flowers, aka food. Keep the pesticides away to that. Eventually, if you put it in the food supply, it might find its way into your mouth and your stomach and your body. So probably don't want to do that. Brooks, always a pleasure seeing you. Thanks so much for joining us, and we look forward to having you back during pumpkin season. We'll bring you back, talk about how to find the right pumpkin. So talk to you soon.
Let's do it. Thanks, Jeffrey. Have a great day.
And don't forget to subscribe to our daily newsletter, The Morning Pulse, for all the news in one place. Details at our website. We're back again tomorrow for another edition of BRN. Until then, I'm Jeff Snyder. Stay safe. Keep on saving. Don't forget, roll with the changes.